In the small village of Woolpit in Suffolk County, England, during the 12th century, something happened that still defies the understanding of historians, scientists, and paranormal scholars. An event. But first, if you like dark tales and stories, click the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Documented in detail in medieval records by respected chroniclers such as Ralph of Coggeshall and William of Newburgh, who narrated in great detail the appearance of two mysterious children in the middle of a plantation. They did not speak English, did not recognize the sun as a source of natural light, rejected any human food, and, strangest of all, they had completely green skin. The episode, known as The Green Children of Woolpit, echoes to this day as one of the greatest historical enigmas in Europe. A real case, recorded in multiple documents from the time, that haunts for its mystery, its strangeness, and for what it can reveal about hidden worlds or parallel realities. According to accounts from the time, it was summer when peasants from Woolpit found two children near an old wolf den, covered in clothes made of a metallic fabric, the likes of which had never been seen before. They were confused, hungry, frightened, and spoke to each other in a completely unknown language. Most disturbing was the greenish hue of their skin, described as something between moss and oxidized copper. They were taken to the house of Sir Richard de Calne, a local knight who inherited custody of the children. For days they refused all food offered until, out of instinct, they ate only raw beans, as if it were the only food they were familiar with. Over time, the green color of their skin began to fade, slowly, as they ate ordinary food. The boy, who was more fragile, fell seriously ill and died weeks later. The girl, on the other hand, survived, learned English, and began to tell her story. What she revealed left everyone astonished. She said they came from a place called St. Martin's Land, a constructed world where the sun never shone and everything was shrouded in perpetual twilight. There, she said, everyone had greenish skin and lived in an importing, agricultural society under the soft light of a perpetually grey sky. The entrance to the world above had been discovered accidentally while following a herd. They passed through a dark tunnel, heard a bell, which was later identified as the Woolpit church bell, and when they emerged, they were surrounded by light and noise, completely disoriented. It seemed that this bell was the only one that penetrated between worlds. The girl was baptized as Agnes and lived among humans for many years. She grew up, worked as a servant and, according to local documents, married an official of King Henry II. But she never forgot the world she came from. Some researchers have tried to rationalize the claims, suggesting that the children were victims of arsenic poisoning, which would explain their green coloring, or that they were Flemish fugitives, lost after a massacre, trying to survive in a strange country. But these theories do not explain the unknown language we know, nor the details of Agnes's story, which coincide with the accounts of dreams and visions described by villagers years later. A diary written by a monk from Bury St. Edmunds reports that, after the children were intimate, monks from the abbey heard nocturnal chants coming from the basement of the church, which abruptly ceased after an exorcism mass. To this day, the place where the children were discovered is avoided by some residents. There have been recent reports, yes, recent, of children claiming to see green boys in the fields, especially at dusk. A 2008 recording by a paranormal researcher captured a sequence of sounds that resemble footsteps and suggestions in an unidentified language. And in 2019, a family who moved to the area reported that their 4-year-old daughter began talking to an invisible brother who claimed to come from a place where the sky was dark and everything was green. The case of the green children remains shrouded in fog, somewhere between legend and truth. But the documents are there, intact, like scars from time. What if this story is more than a medieval fable? What if Woolpit is actually a fissure between worlds, a rift in the fabric of reality, opened by accident, and that could open again? Region. In 2021, a team of British documentary filmmakers, led by independent researcher Lisa Harrow, decided to investigate the case of the Green Children with a modern approach. armed with thermal sensors, gyroradars, and ultra-sensitive audio. Collection equipment. They spent 3 weeks in Woolpit, focusing especially on the area near the ancient wolf den, the exact place where, according to medieval records, the children had appeared. For the first few days, everything seemed normal, but on the night of the 12th day, around 2:17 a.m., the equipment detected a sudden drop in temperature and a continuous section sound, a kind of low frequency, pulsating, like a distant drum coming from the depths. The sound lasted exactly 13 minutes, and then the field recorder picked up a phrase in an unknown language. When played back in reverse, the phonetic translation resembled the Latin adveni ex umbris, those who came from the shadows. Harrow and his team decided to dig deeper into the area where the children had been recorded. At a depth of 2 meters, they found a disused tunnel with walls covered in a glowing substance that resembled a phosphorescent limousine. Chemical analyses later indicated an unknown organic compound with natural photoluminescent properties. Most disturbing, however, was what they found inside the tunnel, a piece of metallic fabric identical to that described in Ralph of Coggeshall's records, trapped between 2 rocks. The texture was like liquid aluminum, but completely malleable, with no signs of corrosion, despite having been there for possibly centuries. When touched, the material emitted a slight vibration, as if it were alive. After this event, 2 members of the team refused to continue, claiming intense nightmares related to tunnels, children with black private eyes, and a presence that whispered names they did not know, but which, curiously, were of ancient residents of the village recorded in documents from the 12th century. Lisa Harrow returned to London with the data, but never spoke publicly about the research again. 3 months later, she was admitted to a private psychiatric clinic after experiencing episodes of extreme dissociation. In one of the recordings of her therapy sessions, released anonymously on an occult forum, she repeatedly repeats the phrase, "They're not from hell, they're from here, but they were sleeping, and we woke them up." This audio went viral on the dark web and ended up attracting the attention of an organization known only as The Hive, formed by renegade academics, conspiracy theorists, and former British government scientists. They believe that Woolpit is one of several geographic anomalies on the planet, points of intersection between layers of reality, and that these appearances are temporary glitching in the membrane that separates the worlds. The most frightening theory of this organization is that the green children were not the only ones. There are similar reports in villages in Romania, mountains in Bulgaria, and even in the interior of Argentina, all with the same characteristics. Children who appear out of nowhere, greenish skin, sunlight versions, and languages that are impossible to identify. In 2005, in northern Japan, a girl was found in a rice field with no documents, no family, and completely black eyes. She died after 48 hours in the hospital. The medical report classified the death as unexplained systemic failure. 1 of the nurses in charge of the shift reported that, in the minutes before her death, a girl tried to speak, but her children asked several times at the same time, as if their voices echoed inside the room in several layers. This was recorded on audio, but the original recording mysteriously came from the hospital. Today, Woolpit remains a quiet village, but there is an unsettling silence when the case is mentioned. People avoid talking about the children. Tourists who come there out of curiosity are discouraged from exploring the fields during twilight. An elderly local, Arthur Gibbons, said in a testimony recorded by an American podcaster, "There is something alive down there. I don't know what it is, but I feel the ground breathing sometimes." His final sentence, before refusing to give further interviews, echoes like a grim warning. They're back. There aren't just 2 of them now.